Hello Internet, it's Zeg. We're back in Factorio. Now it's been a couple of days, and I've also been playing with mods and stuff, so you might have thought that I'd forgotten what the heck we were doing, but luckily I left ourselves in such a stupid position of halfway through building a bunch of turbines that it's quite easy to remember what I was doing, which was building a bunch of turbines. To get this power station up and running. So how many do I have so far? 57. Let's just continue this for a minute or two. I haven't been keeping count, hang on. What's that? 63. Oops. So, once we get all this built, so we can build the reactor up here, how many uranium-235 do we have at the moment? 25. I'm still considering whether I want to turn this on before enrichment, because I'm more than halfway through. I mean, we could go up there and build a bunch more centrifuges, I guess. Except my power is actually being overrun right now. So I can't really afford to power more centrifuges. Well, there's probably a way I can come up with to limit the amount coming out. Can I just grab gears from here? No, wait, no, I can't because the bots will steal them. Let me turn that off for a sec. This one. No, and my inventory's full, so that's the other reason I can't do that. Oh god. Where's my car at? Oh, luckily it's right here. Okay, here. You guys take that. Take all those speed modules. We don't need those right now. I don't even remember why I was carrying them. Okay, what are we at? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 68. So that's 70. And that's 80. With a bunch of... God damn it. 75. There's not actually that many pipes left in the system. I guess I will have to craft them. So that was 75. So that's 80. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll just reset this again. Okay. Now why is my power sucking quite this much? These are all on, right? Yes, they are. Is it just the roboports that are sapping all the power? Yeah, pretty much. But which roboports exactly? Oh, yeah, probably all these ones. So I guess I probably can't wait to get this online. Since everything over here is kind of reliant on power. Also, I was thinking about it at some point, and I realised that, you don't need all this circuit network wiring to these arms. You can just connect them directly to the logistics network. I always forget that's a thing. the wires work well enough. Okay, so if we want to set up this reactor up here, how are we going to go about that? I should really increase the amount of sulfuric acid in that uranium train so it doesn't keep having to make loops where it only just picks up sulfuric. That's kind of silly. Can we fit one up here? Well, maybe with a little bit of landfill it's probably not going to be too bad. That was always the plan. Because really in either direction it's going to be landfill to fit this large of a thing in. I'm going to need to reconnect this somewhere else. Let's just do that down here. And then let's just cliff explosive all this. Yeah, that should be more than enough. And then let's de-tree this. Which one of these is the tree one? Not that one. That one. Oh, this is never going to fit in my inventory, is it? That's far too much wood. Well, it might. Just about. Okay, so if we had to put this reactor up here, we need to think about... Well, firstly, do we want it directly connected to the main power? I mean, I guess there's not any reason to power switch it. Not that I can't just disconnect that cable. And then we need to think about, do I want a gap along the edge of the railway? We're going to need to fit at least like a couple of belts in, probably, so let's just build it. Let's just build it in line with this, but as far up as we can go, I guess. That seems alright. And then obviously we'll fill in the landfill in a minute. That's in my car. Gonna have to go and get the car and dump all this wood out somewhere. Into the car, probably. How are we doing power? Have we recovered yet? Nearly. And all the logistics bots have calmed down. I don't have that much landfill in the car. I have forgotten whether I've got any more laying around down here or not, so I'm going to have to go look. I don't think so, though. I think we took all that, didn't we? Yeah. So we're going to have to go back over to the landfill making site. Which I probably could move, now that I have the stone line go all the way over to my base anyway. Let's just take, like, some... I won't be surprised if that's not enough and we have to come back again. Okay, and grab the rest out of the car, and now let's try and build this out without going too far past the edges, because we want to preserve a straight coastline so that I can build the pumps on it. So we'll go 1 square further than the blueprint. How far out would that be approximately? It would be about here-ish somewhere. I need that a little bit wider so I can actually... If I build it like this, I can partially place the blueprint, and then I can see how much further I still need to go. Should be 2 more after that, I think. That should be enough to get the steam engine on, and then we want 1 more square. And I guess this way it doesn't really matter, but we may as well line it up so I don't have to move those upper pumps yet. Fill in all this gross green water. Okay, that should be a big enough area to put this in. And I'll probably concrete it too, just because it will look nicer for the power station. Not that I'll ever be up here to see it, of course, but may as well. Right, let's just turn on the bots and just sort of stand in the middle of here and just have them do that for a while. So there are still a few things we need to do to finish up this blueprint. Obviously I didn't put the heat pipes in it, so I've got to put them in. We need to adjust where the underground belts are, because you need to go under the heat pipe, but I also wanted to go under a chest, which is going to be where the inserter will pull the fuel from off the fuel loop, and then there'll be a pair of belts running out, probably downwards through this gap to supply the fuel into the loop and take the used fuel back out. Okay, let me put the heat pipes down and see if I did in fact count how many I needed correctly. Oops, not like that though. Okay, I did. Good. So what do we need? We need a bunch of storage tanks, more pipes. I need to make like 3 more whatever they're called, substations. And I'll probably need some extra power lines to actually link them all up, of course, but that's... I can worry about that in a minute. And I'll probably take the car back down here, because otherwise I'll forget where it is. How many more storage tanks do I need? It's 10 per side, but I've already placed 1, so that's 39, I guess. And I'm also going to need to make 8 offshore pumps. Okay. I'm probably going to need even more pipe than that, but we'll see. Power lines, inserters, boxes. Yeah, okay. How are we doing? Have we made any more uranium while I've been away? 26. Oh, electricity's crashed again because of all the bots. I think we definitely are just going to have to run this thing. I'll probably manually insert the fuel for the first couple of rounds. Okay, I think that's all the pipes. Right, So now let's make these adjustments that we need to actually get this set up. I mean, we're not going to need this right now because I'm going to manually insert it, but what we should be able to do somehow is get this merged in, or actually we can just straight merge the fuel. Yeah, but not quite, because the output... Well, no, you do need space. Well, what we could do is underground it past that. So maybe if we do something like this... That's not right. Something like this. No, that's not going to work either. Because that underground needs to be here. Oh, wait, obviously what we can do is just swap these belts around. I don't think that's going to work either. Or we could swap the loop's direction. Would that work? Not really. This is the problem of building it this tight in against these pipes. Okay, if we side merge that like that, then we'd have to have the unload arms go onto the far side, which I guess we could do if we use long arms and then insert with... No, wait, that is literally the wrong side. No, you'd need it the other way around. You'd need the belts to merge on the inside. Because obviously this is fine. You set the filter to used fuel and it will output it. And I guess the alternative is we just stick an arm here. That will get it on the other side of the belt. And since it's not exactly going to be a very fast speed requirement, that should work. Okay, so it's good fuel on the inside, used fuel on the outside. That'll be fine. Then we need to adjust the rest of these. Which we're going to be having... I'll do it with a steel box just because it's nicer looking. We put the steel box up here. Put the inserter arms this way, coming off the belt. So and then we'll circuit wire these like this. So what these arms will be doing is putting one singular fuel in this box. Wait, do I need to do that? Actually, I don't think I do need to do that, do I? It's been a while since I actually made this blueprint from scratch. You shouldn't need to do that because the circuit control to insert the fuel will only allow one to get inserted. The reason for doing it with the box is to ensure that there's always a fuel waiting if the belt isn't completely full. That's why you do it. So in at least this first copy of the reactor, before I'm making tons of fuel, maybe I will want to do this. So override stack size 1, fuel is less than 1, and then just copy that to all the other ones. So that will make sure that there's always a fuel available to be inserted, even if the belt is quite sparse. Then the outputs we can just put wherever, really, I guess. We may as well put them as far up the belt in the outwards direction as possible, I suppose. Well, okay, but now I want to make it symmetrical, so... Right, so that's the arms. Now we need to do the circuit conditions. So what we should do, we'll run it off this set, I guess. Green wire. Now you can connect just one of the tanks and then use like 1/10 of the total, but it's probably easier just to connect all the tanks up. If much more ugly, but you know. Can I make that less ugly? If I connect them like this, so that they go out and in, that's probably better. Yeah, okay. So if you've got all the tanks connected, they will tell you how much steam you have in there, and from my previous attempts at making this design, I know that it's probably, you probably want to start the next fuel at about 8,000 steam left. Okay, that singular turret, that's going to be annoying. Because it does take a short amount of time for the heat to get back into the heat exchangers once the new fuel goes in, so you do need a tiny bit of buffer. So about 8,000 steam is fine. We want a decider combinator. I suppose I should put in some power so I could actually see where my power zone is going to be. That's not actually helpful at all. We do it here maybe, or just cram it in this bit. Or I could build a separate power line for the combinators, I suppose. Or I could adjust the whole power system so it's on this side instead. Oh, but then the wires don't reach. Dang it. Or maybe I'll just substation it, I guess. How much space would that take up? Yeah, I could just run 2 substations, that would be probably better, and it would also link up the sides. Not these ones though. Maybe 4 substations would be a better idea. We'll just substation the whole thing. That's fine. There, right. So the first combinator, which will be receiving the steam signal, so if steam is less than 8,000, send the white signal, which is the one that I usually use. I forget which combinator I actually need for this next step. Is it this one? Yeah, it is that one. So the trick to making controlled insertion is that you have the combinator set to input It's easier to do it. Start with the out one. Use fuel times 1. Output's green. Nope, times -1. Right, I think. Oh man, it really has been a long time. You connect the inserter to that, and then on here you can have it read hand contents pulse, but not enable disable. So what this will do is when the fuel is finished, the inserter will grab the fuel out of the reactor, the used fuel. And because it's set to hand read pulse, it sends a single pulse of the item it's holding, so that's the used fuel. You times it by -1 and send it to the green signal. So that outputs a green signal of -1. And then you need to store that signal, which I forget how you do. You link a combinator back on itself, right? I'm probably going to have to do a test build of this. But yeah, you store that signal in another combinator, so it will just retain the -1, and then you have the input arm set so that if the green signal is less than 0, it inputs the new fuel. But when it picks up the new fuel, you also send a +1 to the green signal to set that back to 0 to prevent it from putting in more fuel. So that way you can precisely control the fuel in and fuel out, and then you add the white signal and green signal together to actually enable the arm. But I am going to have to build a real quick test build to actually remember how that works precisely. How many we got here? 31. Oh yeah, we're probably going to get to enrichment. So yes, that will be for the sped up footage. Luckily I got through most of the explanation of that before cutting into that. Even if I confused myself several times, but we'll get this sorted out. I'm sure it will be fine. And probably, since we're going to be spending a bit more time, we'll just wait for that to get to 40 before I turn on the reactors, and then I'll build an enrichment thing as well, which also is a thing that I can explain how my version of that build works, but I'll do that after the sped up section. So let's get on with that. Get that out of the way. back, and we're fully nuclear powered. Cleared up all that rubbish coal power up there. I thought about keeping it as a backup, but I'm reasonably confident that I've done this correctly. So let's just run through this whole thing again, so I can explain the bits that I was partially confused about and the bits that I hadn't made yet. So obviously, centrifuges, that's not anything complicated, and then it sorts it onto the two sides of the belt, the different colours. This is how I do the enrichment. I have pairs of centrifuges, and then using the same combinator pulsed hand-holding thing, you make it so, because you'll see that this recipe has, you use 40 235 and you make 41, so you're making one extra every time. So the way this is set up, the stack filter inserters on the inside transfer 40 to the other machine, which counts up in the combinator. So this is enabled when it's less than 40, so as soon as it reaches 40, that one turns off, and then this one turns on only when it's equal to 40, which takes the one extra uranium out and puts it on the output belt. So there's the 80 just stays in here, constantly being passed back and forth between the two centrifuges, and then the one extra gets output onto the output belt. So let's just watch this combinator so you can see the numbers go up. And then it reaches 40 and then it goes away, because yeah, this one has the same pulse as its handheld thing, but it multiplies it by minus 40, so it negates the 40 that had already been transferred, setting the system back to 0. And then obviously the extra little leftovers of 238 gets put on this belt and cycled all the way back around on a priority input, so it constantly keeps this belt clear. And now I've got a little storage chest here, so I can keep expanding the system every time I get 40 more built up, because it will run with just 40 being passed between the two, but then when you get another 40 you can add in and it will automatically move it back and forth between them. And I'm speed modulating these at the moment because I was going to productivity module them, but really, do you need productivity modules on uranium? Not really, I guess. I might even have enough here to do the other one. Let's just scoop all this up. No, only 26. That's fine. And then that goes up here to make the fuel and the fuel reprocessing, which just priority feeds back onto the line where it makes the fuel. And I made a little iron furnace over in the logistics zone to just supply the plates. And then up here, I was right about my logic. I was just slightly confused myself. So when the fuel gets output, it puts a -1 on the green signal. When the fuel gets input, it puts a +1 on the green signal, bringing it back to 0. So this one only goes to on when there's a 0. So if the fuel has been taken out, which is when it subtracts the 1 from the 1 when it was put in, bringing it back to 0. So if it's 0, it outputs the green signal. You've got green and white, and it outputs the checkmark signal. So when the white signal is when the steam gets below 8,000 in the whole of this tank bunch. And then when both those signals are true from the AND, it outputs the checkmark, which goes onto the red wire, which goes around the edge to all 4 of the inserters that are on the actual reactor. And when that checkmark is above 0, it inserts the fuel, and it's all stack limited with the box, so they can only insert 1 at a time. So it inputs exactly 1, outputs exactly 1, and then automatically manages it versus the amount of steam in the tanks. You could quite easily get rid of all this tons of uranium fuel that's just sitting on the belt by swapping these boxes out for logistics, and then just running a roboport somewhere, probably in this gap, and just supplying the boxes directly with roboports. But I'm more a fan of belts, so this is the way I usually do it anyway. And I got all the pipes in so that we can theoretically just copy paste this whole blueprint across, except not quite, because obviously the coastline doesn't match up, but this way it will. But but it's fairly unlikely we're going to need to copy paste this blueprint anytime soon, because that's what, 480 megawatts out of the, well, it says 512 here. Wait, is it 5? It can't be, right? Now I'm confused. No, yeah, 400, it should be 480 watts. Well, you know, this doesn't know what it's talking about, but yes. We're using 30 megawatts on idle, so we're probably not going to be over that limit anytime soon. And then once we are, we can just easily drop in another one of those, connect up the fuel, probably just by building a bypass off the belt from one reactor to the next one. Because we probably won't even need to expand the fuel creation and reprocessing even. And then I also put a little alarm here just to remind me that when this box actually runs out of uranium I need to reconnect the ore. So apart from that, I also fixed the uranium mining train constantly running backwards and forth through the base, because I'd forgotten that because I was using the station disabling method, that station was always on, so it was still able to path to that station, so all it was doing was transferring itself, driving between this station and this station constantly, because they were both on. So I just ran a circuit network wire along the power lines along the main line and just connected it in and gave it the same condition as the uranium station, so they both enable and disable at the same time. That's not too much of a trouble. And then there were some biter problems. Oh, they've started sending spitters again, because I'd noticed that there were spitters coming into this corner and I was wondering where they were coming from. So I went up here and cleared out all the spitter spawners in this base and this base. But they must be forming groups by pulling in from these other bases probably. So they're probably getting spitters out of spitter spawners over on these ones, even though they're not actually in the pollution cloud. And way over here, the pollution cloud has just started hitting this base as well, so I reinforced those turrets. So we should be pretty good to now massively upgrade pretty much everything, just use all this tons of power that I now have to just massively ramp up production. I really need to fix all these power lines, that's just a horrible mess. So mainly what we want to do is over here, obviously we'll want to connect up the rest of the smelters for this, and I mean we can connect up all these factories, but they're probably never going to be used because as you can see this is all backed up, so we might need to extend the module factory or allow it to make some more modules anyway. Yeah, we can connect all those up with all the extra furnaces. We'll probably switch this over to robots, because now we have the power for it. We might need to start thinking about potentially tapping another mine or two, because the trains are spending quite a lot of time getting loaded, although actually what I need to do, I guess, is just upgrade all the belts and probably all the inserters to get up to probably red, I guess, would probably be enough. Red belts and stack inserters will make the trains get filled up much quicker. And then obviously more robots will make them get unloaded much quicker. So yeah, I mean there's still plenty of places we can get minerals from. There's this whole copper patch down here. We could even build like a second station alongside this one and just have that of double copper. And the stone down here we'll probably want to attach to the trains at some point as well. There's this small iron deposit just outside the walls. There's this huge one over here. I think really the next thing that we're probably going to research and design is probably artillery, because then I can just throw down some artillery. Well, I don't know if I'll throw down artillery turrets or artillery trains, because I might just extend this railway over here where it would exit the base, and then we can have a artillery train that can just park up there, and obviously it can come over here, and then it can come down this bit of rail as well. And that will clean up most of the biters anywhere near the pollution cloud, except for these ones on the far side of the lake. But hopefully the pollution cloud will be much reduced now, as it already is, starting to dissipate now that we're not actually burning any coal any longer. need to save some of these blueprints. Just shove them in the book, I guess. Should really maybe turn some of these into like real blueprints rather than just quickly made trash blueprints. Okay, so what do we need to do? Should we actually start a research now that we have power for that as well? Oh yeah, and the other thing we have power for, I guess, is we can start building laser turrets. We can actually not have to rely on just guns any longer. Then there's uranium ammo. I suppose we could do that as well, because that just uses up some more of the trash uranium. But I think I want another level of worker robot speed. Because that's always nice. Right, so let's go and change the circuit factory over to logistics on the unload. Because down here we should have plenty of logistics robots. How many do we probably need? Let's go with like 400, I guess. And then we're going to need some of these, a few of those, probably not even that many. We don't need passive providers, we need active providers, so I better take some extra steel chests. Oh, except my robots are going to steal all those. Okay, we're going to need belts, probably some blue and some red. How are we for blue at the moment? I should actually just set that as a request now at this point, I think. What do we want? Let's say the same as red for now, I guess. I might even think about reducing the yellows. Well, I don't know, I'm still using them quite a lot. Because some people, of course, just switch completely over to red or even blue belts, rather than ever using yellows and then just never have yellows in their inventory, which, you know, is not a completely terrible idea. Quite expensive. Oh, we're going to need some more furnaces. Is that everything? Furnaces, arms... yeah, that should do. Oh, and I've just realised I've put the uranium storage box on the wrong part of that belt. You really need it after the enrichment facility so you don't use up all of the 238. Okay, so what is the major factor that's slowing this down? Well, it's more or less just the belts. These probably need to be faster. At least red, because they need to be a half blue. But first, let's go and finish off the smelting and the... Oh crap, I didn't bring road reports, did I? Nope, I didn't. Well, luckily, I should still be able to make a couple of them without having to use any base resources, and actually, since I'm here at the circuit factory, I can just pick up red circuits if I need to make more. I guess I could just go over here and just straight copy these. It's just, Let's just take this bit and I'll deal with the rail reports myself. And let's make a special deconstruction blueprint for this as well. We want blacklist, rails, power lines, I guess the fuel... No, wait, that's not a fuel belt, that's a coal belt, isn't it? The fuel belt is over here. I should be able to avoid accidentally removing that. It should only need to be rails and power poles that I need to avoid removing. Everything else can go. And we'll want to put it into the logistics system. Conveniently, I actually left enough space there. That was some good planning ahead. We need storage chests temporarily. We'll just put them wherever, I guess. And we'll need to temporarily put my construction robots in there since I didn't bring any more. Oh, and I guess I could also put blacklist trains in there just in case, because I think you can still just straight demolish trains using robots. Okay, we should just be able to drag straight up the middle of here, except for the circuit loading one, I guess, because that's going to be slightly different. And get rid of all this. And this little bit. This is going to take a while, because the bots are going to have to pick up all the raw materials. Actually, I might help a little bit. Then we might need a few more storage chests, actually. I need more than that. Luckily I brought tons. Okay, so, yeah, I guess we'll end this episode here before I get too distracted by doing all this. And especially because this episode might be slightly long, because I had a slightly longer start segment. So now that we've finally done that major step, next time should be all about upgrades. Making everything faster and better and the way I originally intended it, rather than all this halfway house stuff that I've built so far. And that's it. Put the end card on the screen. It's our Twitter and our Facebook that you can use to be informed about when the podcast gets uploaded to our website and other places that you can get podcasts from. And then this is a YouTube channel upon which you are watching a video, which you can probably like and subscribe. Assuming those functions still exist. Because who knows what YouTube is going to do in the future. End. Stop this video. Let me out of here.